Oh, you damn right that's booze. That's mead. It's in the title. Not gonna dance around it tonight. Oh, oh, that's good stuff. Hi, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. My channeling Ursula tonight, darling, every night. Needing something strong? Not really. It is a specific brand of mead, but the problem is there's no point in me recommending it because this was a small local meadery. She literally made the stuff in her garage and she has retired from mead making. But this is Sticky Paws Meadery in, where was she? Milton. She was in Milton, Vermont. Oh, so good. I've got this and I've got one other bottle. This is mulled over. This is the mulled mead, which was my favorite that she did. All her stuff was good. So I've got this and I've got one more bottle. Oh, I'm going to be so sad when this is gone. I'm dragging out, working my way through these bottles, partly in the hope that she'll decide to start making it again and I can stock up. We'll see. That is correct, Gozer. Support your local meadery or cidery or winery or brewery if that's your jam, I guess. Unless they're assholes. I did unfortunately learn that about a cidery that I used to drink their stuff and run by a bunch of jackasses. So until the ownership changes hands, I will not be drinking Citizen Cider, and I would encourage other people to not drink it either. And I did look into it, like legit. It kind of blew up on Reddit, and I kind of hoped in the back of my mind, selfishly, that it would just turn out to be like some overblown rumor mill stuff. Like, no, I know people who I know and trust and aren't just rumor mongers who actually have a very clear idea of what specifically was going on. It's like, oh, well, crap. Oh, well. I'll be careful going through icy snow, Ms. Wicked Wolf. And no, I don't wear a sleep mask. Oh, so good. It's so good. But yes, this cup is not nothing but mead. I added it to warmed up traditional apple cider. Oh, that's good. Southern Middle Tennessee is only recently thawed out from the ice. Oof, yikes. So happy to see everyone today. Been a couple of rough weeks. I'm sorry to hear that, Amber. Hope that things get better. Oh, Captain Lunar coming in with a super chat. Your reminder that while I will try and keep up with the chat, the only thing that guarantees interaction is a super chat, which also gets you the heart of appreciation. Well, that's not the only thing. Also, if you're in the Patreon exclusive Discord, but questions on that are closed if you missed the window already. Settle a debate. Okay, for sure. Could a Batman, if he had all his abilities and text from the comics, take a major dent out of human trafficking IRL? Yes. because Batman is super overpowered in both his deductive abilities and also his resources in the comics, which he shouldn't be, but he is, because he's on the Justice League, and most of the members of the Justice League have like legitimate actual superpowers. So since they weren't going to give him actual superpowers, they just kept jacking up his resources more and more and more. So he has to have resources and tactical and deductive abilities that are beyond literally everybody else, so that he can be as useful as all the superpowered people. So yeah, you probably could. Now, the thing is, it's a question of scope. If the person you're arguing with mainly thinks of Batman specifically in his Gotham operations, then no. I could see why someone would argue no, because like he can't even stop the local asylum from being the easiest place to break out of in the freaking world. Like, how's he going to stop trafficking? But you need to remember, you go to a planet-sized threat, he's going to bust out the planet-sized resources, and he has them. Pin message actually working this time. That's good. Oh, hey, John. Good to see you. Always nice to see you pop in. And of course, hi to everybody. I didn't like do the greetings too much at the beginning. I was busy whistling. Any Doctor Who cons that are worth attending if you live in the middle of the U.S. Anyway, wanted to go to one. There's one that's in, I think it's Chicago. Hold on. Yeah, Chicago TARDIS. Yeah, which I've never been to, so I can't personally vouch for that one. But if you're not traveling out of the Midwest, that's probably going to be your best bet. I will be going to Gallifrey 1 next month. Very excited for that. It'll be my third time going. Garfield, Hello Kitty, or Pusheen? I mean, depends on... Excuse me. Depends on what I'm there for. If we're just going aesthetic, Pusheen, Hello Kitty, Garfield. If I'm actually going to engage with it, Garfield, if I get to dictate where the cutoff is. Like, Garfield up to 94, but, like, nothing later. What's your superpower? I'm rich. Best line in any Snyder film ever. I don't know. I'm not sure it's better than "This is Sparta," but it's pretty good. Like, people mocked that line, but it's kind of true. There's a Victorian-era street in my town called Old Road. How original. It never occurred to me, but wouldn't that name have made no sense when it was built in the 1880s? Well, presumably, at the time that... Well, okay, let's back up two things. We're assuming that it hasn't been renamed in more recent times. So assuming that that is not the case, and it was originally called Old Road when it was built, then it was probably like an original already ground-in trail, like some kind of dirt road that, like, I don't know, the frickin' Romans marched up and down or something. Like, it could still have been a pre-existing path, which would, you know, make it, still kind of make it the old road. If you were the showrunner of Doctor Who, what ideas would you have for a series? People ask me that from time to time, and I don't know how to answer it. For the same reason I'm bad at speculation. I don't have that job, and it's very hard, even if I try, to get my my brain to devote its creative energies to something that I know nothing will come of it. Like, me thinking about, here's what I would do, is like literally just, it would just be for the sake of that exercise. And my brain doesn't really let me funnel my creative energies in that kind of direction. If I would like to think, if I actually got the gig, I would have ideas. Or if, like, I don't know, Bad Wolf Productions said, hey, put together a pitch deck. Oh, I'd put something together. But, like, for casual questions, unfortunately, my brain won't relax its grip on the whole idea of like, this is not a good use of your energy. Stop it. My brain holds me hostage sometimes. I'm trying to get a negotiator in, but it's tough going. Read an article about the tomb of Hannah Courtois. It supposedly holds a time machine. Okay, sounds like a premise for a Doctor Who episode. Yeah, I'd say that's a solid enough premise. Just watched Perfect Blue for the first time and it blew me away. Have you seen it by any chance? Not only have I seen it, I own it. I also haven't seen it in 20 years. Because it's one of those movies that I bought because I got it like secondhand, like $5 on DVD. And I was like, oh, I'll watch that again. And I never have. I still keep it because like I will rewatch it again. I remember being slightly let down by some of the explanations that come in the third act. Basically, I was a little bit let down that there was as much explanation as there was. I kind of would have preferred less, which is kind of what Black Swan did with the concept, which was one of the things I appreciated about that movie. It's good though. It is good. I have seen it. It's good. Least worst Snyder film. I still like 300. I own that movie. I have watched it more than once. I will probably watch it again in future. Is it problematic as hell from any kind of historical or political analysis? Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. I will not defend it from that kind of criticism at all. But I think it also, like, as a filmmaker, plays to all of his strengths and very few of his weaknesses. What would your current 4 things Doctor Who should never do be? I'm not sure I could make that video now, because the thing is, given that we have had instances of things being done that I unabashedly thought were bad ideas and sometimes them working out, I'm not sure I could come up with a list I'd be comfortable with, because this is kind of me giving leeway to other creatives. Like, somebody can think of a way to do this that you can't think of that could actually make it work, which is literally what happened with the 14th Doctor. That's a bad idea. Bi-generation's a bad idea. And they both worked for me because they were executed really well. So I'm not even sure I would have it in me to make a version of that video now. When are you going to react to your most popular video? Given that it's literally a month old, probably never. I don't think there'd be anything interesting for me reacting to my current most viewed video. How much Doctor Who do you own physically? I own series 1 through 12 and Power of the Doctor. I don't have Flux. That might be the first modern era one that I skip. I have a smattering of classic. Like I have the entire Key to Time season, and I've got Tombs of the Cybermen, Remembrance of the Daleks, Time Warrior, Dalek Invasion of Earth. I think I've got some others. I've got the Dominators because that was the easiest way to get it when I got commissioned it because I found it cheap and I wasn't subscribed to BritBox at the time. That might be all that I have physically. I'm not sure. I'd have to check. Perfect Blue is the one Darren Aronofsky keeps ripping off, right? Funny thing about that, Gozer, he actually bought the adaptation rights before making Black Swan, even though Black Swan isn't really an adaptation of Perfect Blue, but he wanted to recreate some of those images very specifically, and it would have been plagiarism, or at least very shady for him to do so with multiple shots. So even though Black Swan is not an adaptation of Perfect Blue, he bought the remake rights basically for the sake of his own conscience. To be like, look, I'm not adapting the story, but I am adapting the mood and some very specific visuals, and I want it to be okay. So that I feel like ripping off might be a little harsh under those circumstances. My landlord texted me he's gonna raise the rent. They always are. If you get a text from a landlord, it's never good news. Captain Lunar coming in again with a super chat. You're given a choice of having one mythology being real and fairly accurate as can be. Which do you pick and why? Oh. If you'll allow me the leeway of accepting folklore as mythology, then I would say Celtic Fae folklore. If only because it deals the least with gods who can literally decide to mess with anybody, anywhere, anytime for any or no reason, and a bit more of just be really, really careful around these kinds of spaces and these kinds of creatures, which I feel like is a much more, like, I don't think there's any version, or at least mythologies that I know well enough, like maybe there is, but no mythology that I'm aware of would actually be a comfortable place for people to live. But I feel like you'd have better odds in a world with Celtic Fae than you would with, you know, Greek or Norse or Egyptian or what have you. I'm not going to be on here very long, but I'm currently dealing with a mouth infection. Ooh, the antibiotics are tiring me out. Oh, well, I hope that clears up soon. Ugh. I have to negotiate with my brain all the time. Ain't it fun? If you could pick only one series of New Who to watch for the rest of your life, what would it be? Series 10. Piece of cake. Have you done a best companion exits ranking? I have. It's a couple years old now, so it's not current. But yes, I have done that one. It's one of the ones that'll probably need to be revisited eventually. As I'm pursuing my generative writing project, I'm wondering when is your best time to write/edit when you are writing? If you mean time of the day, whenever I actually kick my ass hard enough to start. Yeah, I don't have, it's daylight hours. That much is probably true. I have a hard time wrangling my creative brain in the dark. Sometimes I can, but often when the sun goes down, my brain's like, cool, we're done for the day. Other than that, that's about all I've got. Let's see. How about 4 worst things Doctor Who has done? It would be tricky not to have that just degenerate into a 4 worst episodes thing. Maybe. I don't know. I'm less inclined to do the purely negative Doctor Who ranking videos. I mean, I still will from time to time. I actually have an idea that I'm working on that. I am going to break up into a best of and worst of list because I considered doing like a full ranking of a certain kind of episode. I'm not going to say what it is because I'm not far along in the project yet, though Carolyn knows what I'm talking about. Hey, Meg. So I feel like full rankings are generally what I tend to like better because it allows me to not stay in a wholly negative space while still addressing the negative stuff. Like, let's start with the bad stuff and then get to the good stuff. The purely negative lists are getting harder. Just because of where I'm at in general and the kind of stuff that I'd rather be making. Like I said, it'll still happen every now and then, but I don't know. It's not a bad idea, but I don't know. It doesn't sit right somehow. Nobody knows today. The UK kind of warmed up. With my house's heating on, I realize it's the first time I've been hot since summer. Enjoy it, I guess. Uh, oh, how is your demanding little dog today, Meg? By the way. Tomorrow's Phil Lamar and Kristen Schall's birthdays. Good on them. Have I finished The Ghost of Molly McGee? I don't know. I don't think so. Kiddo and I will probably get back to that, but we've shifted to other stuff for the time being. I forgot more stuff came out. I literally forgot. What's the worst TV episode you've watched out of any TV show? I'm still gonna say it's the original Dexter series finale from season 8. They got to 8, right? Yeah, they did. They got to 8, I think. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they got to 8. The thing about that, though, is to appreciate why it's so bad, you have to have watched the rest of Dexter. Because it's one of those things that if you were to watch it in isolation, you'd be like, well, it's not great, but is this really the worst thing? It's so bad because of how it squanders and misunderstands and fails to just be anything that the show has been up to that point. So with proper context, that one. If you're talking about like worst episode of a TV show that you can watch in isolation and go, wow, that's a real bad episode of TV. I don't know, probably something I've never watched. Have I seen any of the Has Been Hotel? Not yet, Lewis. I will. I'm going to, but I haven't yet. Vera's a morning person, say it ain't so. That is not what I said, Dharma. That is not what I said at all. Don't you put those words in my mouth. Holy cow. You have another brain that works very well in the dark. Damn it. Damn it, John. He's not wrong. Is there any piece of media you would like to see Doctor Who do a crossover with in the comics? Nope, not really. Do you think Whovian horror might be an interesting route, like the Doctor squaring off against Pinhead? No. If they wanted to have him take on more Lovecraftian cosmic horror stuff, which you can do without necessarily even having it to tie directly into the Cthulhu mythos, that I'd be up for. But in the multiversal and oversaturated, overfranchised, and entertainment environment we currently live in, the idea of crossovers don't excite me. They exhaust me. I'm like, there's a video game where you could be Scooby-Doo or Arya Stark. Like, my response to crossovers at this point is, yeah, sure, that might as well happen, I guess. Because they're not special anymore. They're not a rarity anymore. It's not like, ooh, wow, I never thought I'd see that. Like, at this point, I assume I'll see everything, because eventually everybody will buy up everybody until we have one Omni Corporation, Super Mega Globotech, and, you know, it'll all be meaningless. I saw David Tennant in Macbeth on Friday. Which Doctor would you like to see on the stage? Eccleston's been doing a lot of stage stuff lately. I bet he'd be good. Are you in control of your drive and creativity, or is it more like bumps in the road where suddenly you can do stuff? I have to work with my ADHD, and part of that is not trying to force control that I don't have. Sometimes I have to do it. Like if this has to get done today, I can force it. But on an ideal work day, I roll with the general direction my brain already wants to go. So maybe I woke up thinking, this is what I'd prefer to do today, but I can't wrangle my brain to do that. So it's like, okay, can I get it? Is there anything that I can point it at that would still be productive? So largely I have to kowtow to where my brain goes. I will like sort of bully it into a certain area now and then when I really need to, but I really try not to have that be a regular basis. Which classic Who Doctor are you the closest to finishing now? Well, I finished 6. I already finished 6, so he's done. After that, 7. I'm the closest to finishing 7. Yeah, it's 7, it's 5. I've got the same number of things left for 3 and 2, although not really, because there's still some 2 stuff that hasn't been animated yet. So I guess 2 is a little bit closer than 3, then 1, then 4, because 4 has a lot. What am I looking forward to most at Gallifrey 1? Just the feel of it. I just like being with the group of people who tend to go to that thing. I'm on a panel as well. That'll be fun. But like it's the entirety of the experience. It's being around that group of people, that group of dedicated fans, and it's just nice. It's nice. Like to go to a convention dedicated to one thing like that is where, and like I've had conversation with people who are obviously not super thrilled with the state of the show, at the time I was there, but they were still happy to be there, excited to be there, and had positivity, even if they didn't like the current state of the show, which was something that we often disagreed on. But like everyone's there to have fun, and they do, and it's great. What's my take on the Millie Gibson drama? I literally put up a video earlier today, Amelia, so I will not be addressing that on stream because I already did it. Amphibia or Owl House? Owl House. The dog is, well, she did all of her business, ate all of her dinner, so I'm trying to count those as wins. Currently huffing and puffing at the door due to our neighbors. She's got to get over that. Am I aware of the Has Been Hotel music video controversy? No. Is it actually a controversy worth anything, or is it just the normal nonsense? There's already been a Doctor Who Lovecraft crossover audio drama, I believe. Yeah, I'd buy that. It's a great mug I leave for Disney on Thursday. Happy trails. Is it weird to like your body as a person with social anxiety? I've been told by other people it's weird I don't have that. No, I don't think so. I mean, it might be uncommon, but I don't think that's the same as weird. It's probably along the same lines as being neurodivergent and not having insomnia. Heyo! Hi, how you doing? But like that's not a requirement for having anxiety. It's a Venn diagram with a lot of crossover. Having anxiety about your own personal opinion and general social anxiety, but one is not a requirement for the other. It's not what's the word I'm looking for? It's not compulsory to the condition of social anxiety. Discord. Thank you, Carolyn, for that reminder. Give me just a second. I'm just going to check a couple of things here real quick. I'll talk to you later, John. Okay, so I'm going to pop over to the Council of Geeks Discord and take a look at the questions there. Reminder, that is a Patreon exclusive perk. So if you want access to that, you need to go to the Patreon. But in any case, let me get through these. And I'll be back to the main chat as soon as I deal with these. You may have already addressed this by the time you check the Discord, but thoughts on Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie not getting nominated for Barbie for the Academy Awards? Greta in particular feels like a bit of a snub, with the movie getting a Best Picture nod. No, I don't have too many thoughts on. Margot Robbie did surprise me. That one did actually surprise me, except that I kind of think that I'm surprised the Oscar nominations haven't come up as a topic in the chat yet, or if they did, I missed it. I'm a little bit surprised by Margot Robbie not being nominated, but when I think about it, I think the Academy is a little bit reluctant to give Barbie as many nominations as they have, and I think there's a very specific reason for that. I think in another year they might have really wanted to buoy it up because, like, it gives them the chance to award something that's very popular, which they don't often get the chance to do. But the thing is, this year there's Oppenheimer, which was also very popular, and they probably wanted to award Christopher Nolan something for a while. The only other time he got nominated for director was when he did Dunkirk. The Oscars love historicals, and they love biopics. Like, the safe money is on Oppenheimer and on Christopher Nolan to win. I don't consider Greta Gerwig to be nearly as much of a snub for two reasons. One, she's also nominated for the screenplay along with Noah Baumbach. And two, there's going to be at least 5 notable snubs because there's 10 nominees for Best Picture and only 5 nominees for Best Director. So, like, it's not that odd that she got a snub even though the picture got nominated. That happens literally half the time these days with just the way that it's set up. That having been said, I did check. There has only been 1 year in the history of the Oscars where more than one woman was nominated. So, that was 2020 for the record. Would have been nice if they could have nominated more than one woman. I forget who did get the nomination, but like I haven't seen like 90% of the films that got major nominations. So, is it true that Taco Bell opening up is like Christmas and New Year's in urban Vermont? First of all, what the hell is urban Vermont? What what does that even mean? Urban Vermont, so Burlington. Burlington's the only area in Vermont that I would consider urban at all. And also no. So double no. Were candles actually good enough for Grandma, or did she use a lantern? I don't know. She's not around for me to ask her anymore. Why is a raven like a writing desk? No one knows. Do you think there are any sci-fi series or franchises that go against the tropes or cliches that seem to be all too frequent, like Dune's feudal future, For All Mankind / The Expanse's exploitative capitalism in space, or just the borderline outright nihilism of the cyberpunk genre? Series and franchises? No. I think most stuff that really breaks convention that fits into sci-fi is stuff that is unfranchisable. Like, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is a sci-fi movie. You wouldn't think of it as one, because what? Because it lacks almost all the conventions and all the tropes, but you can't franchise that. So major series or franchises, I mean, there might be one out there. I can't think of one. Any thoughts on Noah Khan and what is stick season as in And I Love Vermont, but is the season of the sticks? Okay. I don't have any thoughts on Noah Khan because I literally only found out who he was today. And the only reason I know who he is because his song was, I think, number 2. One of his songs was number 2 on Todd in the Shadow's video on the 10 best songs of 2023 that came out earlier today, and I watched. That was literally the first time I'd ever heard of him, so this is now the second. But I can't explain stick season. Stick season is basically the back half of fall. because, you know, you think fall in Vermont and you think, oh, the gorgeous colors. And yes, we do have that, but peak, meaning peak color in Vermont is 2 weeks tops. And then all the leaves fall off and it sticks. So the period of time between when all the leaves have fallen off the tree and the first snow, that's stick season. In terms of your recent reaction video to yourself, what do you think is the biggest change in terms of delivery, not presentation, i.e. you seem much more measured now, in my opinion? I think I'm far less prone to hyperbole than I was. I still, like, even looking back at some of the old stuff, I still don't think I was nearly as bad as, like, a lot of creators even now still are, in terms of, like, really leaning into the anger or, like, presenting it, you know, and you know, louder and more frustrated than I actually was. I did do that a little, but I didn't do it to the extreme that a lot of folks do. But I did it a little, and I don't really do that at all anymore, just because that's exhausting and draining and not fun. So, I don't know. To me, that feels like the biggest change. If I go off on something, if I go on a rant, it's because I actually care. I don't force that stuff. It's because I actually need to get these thoughts out of my head. And I'm probably annoyed. If someone visits the U.S., what is one fast food chain to avoid above all others other than Chick-fil-A, and one that is actually okay? I mean, the one I'm going to say to avoid is not for the reasons you're kind of implying, which is like, oh, it's so bad. But avoid McDonald's. Because if you're visiting the U.S., you probably have a McDonald's where you're at. Odds are pretty good. So, like, skip that one. Do something else. As for ones that are actually okay, sticking, like, with genuine fast food, as opposed to, like, family restaurants and what, you know, other franchises. Oh, actually, you know what? I suppose it does classify as fast food. Skip Subway. Like, Subway's not awful, but, like, it's just a sandwich. You watch them make a sandwich. It's fine. I eat Subway now and then, but, like, it's not an experience I'd recommend to anybody. Other than that, as opposed to one that, like, is actually okay, I don't know. I think most fast food is okay if you're in the mood for it. The problem is you need to try it at some point to find out if it's something you'll ever be in the mood for. Like, a lot of people slam Taco Bell. I'll get Taco Bell now and then. Not often, but I don't know. Every 3-4 months, I'll get a light hankering and go, you know what? I could go for some cheap ground beef. I don't know. It happens. Like, I think almost all of them are okay. Like, fast food is okay. That's the nature of fast food. You trade quality for speed. Okay. Back in the 1980s, my mother was a young teacher at an inner city elementary school. They had this one assigned female at birth student who always came to school dressed in the masculine school uniform. The staff kind of treated them as a sort of pseudo boy, like they even let them go with the boys during PE. When they reached year 7, which is 11 years old, their dad started forcing them to go to school in a pink coat and school uniform. Dress, what do you think is the ideal way to handle that as an affirming teacher? Unfortunately, you kind of can't. Well, in the U.S., you can't. I don't know what the rules are in the U.K. and teachers over there, so I can't speak to anything like that. But, like, the simple truth is that the best you can do is just to be like, offer whatever affirmations are not in contradiction to the stated desires of the parent. Like, and that's probably not going to be much. Like, at best, if they have an preferred name, or probably wasn't the case with the situation you're talking about because that was the 80s, but, like, they have a preferred name, like, maybe try and use that. But even that, these days, depending on what state you're teaching in, you can get in trouble for that too. There isn't a lot there, especially at this point. And in a lot of areas in the U.S., what few things you kind of could do to be supportive have actually been made so doing it might cost you your job. So find out what the rules are in your local area and figure out from there. Why do you think right-wingers can't see Trump seems like a prick? They know he's a prick. They know. Here's a fundamental thing you need to understand about Trump. The people who genuinely like him, and I mean genuinely like him, not just the people who are like, well, I'm going to vote for him because I'll never vote for a Democrat, and they'll just vote for whoever the hell, even though they say, I wouldn't vote for Trump. Yeah, you frickin' will. But setting those people aside, the people who genuinely love Trump, the fact that he's an asshole is not a bug, it's a feature. They like that about him. They like that he pisses off the left. They like that he just flat out says horrible things. They either think it's funny or it's somehow a sign of power, or they themselves are assholes. And you tend to gravitate towards someone that you relate to and is the most like you. Trump being an absolute garbage fire of a human being is not a bug, it's a feature to the people who, again, genuinely like him. I suspect that most of the people who will vote for him, but like would prefer somebody else was the candidate, probably don't like that about him, but they're still going to frickin' vote for him, so it doesn't matter. There's a bit in one of the two culture stories I want to review. That's not to hint to get to them, I swear. I appreciate it. Where an outsider to the culture asks a culture citizen. This is the series of books by Ian M. Banks, for context for folks. If she feels lucky to live there, she tells him that the culture's education system tries to install an understanding that they're intensely lucky, but ultimately it's hard not to just view getting to do whatever you want all the time as the norm when it's all you've ever known. Do you think that's an accurate view of human nature, i.e., whatever you're most used to will seem the norm, even if we know it's not? Yeah. I mean, that's just an extrapolation to living in a first world country. I live in a country where I reliably have clean water and heat and access to food. And while I understand intellectually that I am lucky to have that, and there are many, many, many places in the world that don't, this still feels normal to me. Even though I know it is not for many, 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 many people. It's just an extrapolation of what we already have, as a lot of sci-fi is. Would you ever consider doing a reaction to one, to one of your own reaction videos? Reactionception. Oh, God. That very notion kind of breaks my brain. Partially because the results would be like at minimum 2 hours. Because the reaction videos are already by their nature longer than the original video. So it would just get longer every time. Eventually I'd be doing like a 24-hour marathon, reacting to my reaction to my reaction to my reaction to my original video. Blah, blah, blah. Somebody has to pay me for that. Are there any classic Who villains you'd like to see brought back? I mean, Omega is still the big one in my mind. I keep hearing that there's some issues with the rights for him. Fans say that. I've never seen anybody provide me receipts for why that is the case, so I think that's just fan assumption. Do you have any major comfort movies you always go back to? Yes and no. I don't rewatch movies much anymore because if I'm going to sit down and watch a movie, my brain that reminds me of how behind I am on work kind of goes, hey, you need to be, if you're going to watch something, you need to watch something that you are supposed to be doing a review on. So really the only time I ever watch something that I've seen before is if I'm watching it with somebody else who maybe hasn't seen it before or they wanted to rewatch it. And then it's like, oh, well, I can shut up that part of my brain that says you should be watching something you should be doing a review on by going, I'm not watching it for me. I'm watching it with this person to experience it with this person and let me just have this experience. And my brain will actually let me do that. But like my major comfort movies used to be stuff like the original Ghostbusters, Kung Fu Panda, How to Train Your Dragon, the first two. But I haven't rewatched any of these things in years because just sitting down to watch a comfort movie. That's not really my life anymore. Okay, I am back to the main chat. Ooh, we got super chats in. Supreme Omega, thank you kindly. On Indiana Jones, I feel Raiders didn't need any sequels. The first film had such a perfect such a perfect lightning in a bottle. The series doesn't have an Empire level sequel. I'm not gonna fully agree with that. I'd say the thing there is that I think the nature of Indiana Jones lends itself to the James Bond style franchise. Let's see Indy's next adventure, which is more or less what the franchise has been. So I think comparing it to like an Empire, I assume you mean Empire Strikes Back level sequel, it was never going to have that, because the reason Empire lands the way it does is because it's literally continuing the story. Indiana Jones isn't built for that kind of sequel at all, but he is built for a let's see one of his other adventures kind of sequels. Now, were they all good? No. Temple of Doom, I'm sorry, sucks. It sucks. Couple of good bits, but overall that's not a good movie. And Crystal Skull is got a lot of problems, but I think they made the kind of sequels that make sense for Indiana Jones, and I don't really have a problem with them existing. I wish their batting average was better, but I love Last Crusade. That's a great movie. Have I ever heard of the movie Burlesque starring Cher and Christina Aguilera? Of course I've heard of it. And no, I haven't seen it, and no, I won't unless somebody pays me. Last Crusade is probably the best Indy sequel. No, it is. I don't know. I don't know why you put probably in front of that like it is. I don't know who would debate that. I guess some people really like Temple of Doom. I don't know why. I really don't know why. Other than nostalgia. Nostalgia's powerful. Oh well. Oh well. You know, they could do Jones like Bond or like Who. What if they just cast a new Jones instead of passing the torch? There was rumors of that. I think they missed their window on that. That's not to say they won't try at some point, but I think the window for doing that would have been after Last Crusade. But instead they did Crystal Skull and kind of really solidified, no, it's Harrison Ford no matter how old he is. I think it'd be a lot harder for them to sell that. Suggs with a box. Thank you very much for the super chat. How are you? By the way, love the hair. Thank you. I refreshed the color earlier today, which is actually why I'm in this particular top. I had to be sure that I wore something that was low enough that if there was any remaining wetness on this, it wouldn't stain a shirt. And then I had to be careful on how I framed the shot, because if I had this up a little too high, like say roundabout there, I look like I'm just sitting here topless, which I'm not. So there we go. Andrew Dykens, thank you very much for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. Oh, and Cloak the Librarian, thank you for the membership. I missed that earlier. Thank you very much. Just watch your reaction to your old video. Amazing, by the way, but I was wondering, how weird was it watching your previous regeneration? Much love. Not as weird as you'd think, partially because I don't have the level of dysphoria that a lot of trans people do. So, like, it's not like, oh God, like it's a little weird, but it's not, oh, this is all tilted now, hang on. It's not like, it's not dysphoria inducing or anything like that. So it's just kind of like, oh yeah, that was me back then, wasn't it? I suspect it probably for me falls somewhere between the standard level of weird that I think most creators looking at something that old that they made would feel. It's between that and the kind of weird that most trans people probably feel looking at their pre-transition self. It's in the middle. It's weirder than I think is the standard base level weird for most creators looking at their older stuff, but it's not quite as weird as I think it is for most trans people to see their pre-transition self. Celebrated 3 months with my girlfriend yesterday. Congratulations. We saw the new Mean Girls. We both thought it was a lot of fun despite some negative comments we had seen beforehand. I mean, I don't plan to see it. I'm just not, I don't really like this whole movie to stage musical to movie again pipeline that the producers started. Although, like, producers technically did it first. I'm not sure they're entirely to blame because it didn't really pick up as a trend until more recent, like as a more ongoing thing. Yeah, I don't know. Funny. It's not a dress. It is just a top. Yep. Nope. No bottom here. Just a top. I see a bowler hat. You do see a bowler hat. I haven't put this back up in my closet yet. I wore this, or no, I didn't wear this. I got this down thinking I might wear it last month when I was on the charity live reading of A Christmas Carol. This thing's falling apart though. Like the edge is all frayed. The interior needs to be fixed. I gotta get in touch with my local haberdashery and get that thing fixed. I really hope my question about the right way to refer to your past self didn't come across as rude. It didn't. Like it throws a lot of people off. The way I am very casual about my own past masculinity, because a lot of trans people are a lot more distancing and dysphoric about it. So, like, remember, I'm not the template you should use for anybody. I am atypical, like, partially based on the fact that I am not actually a trans woman. I am trans feminine, certainly. I am gender fluid, but I'm not actually a trans woman. I don't identify as such at this time. Tara Stoller, good to see you. Thank you for the super chat. Hey, Bear, question on your self-review. I noticed you used he, him for your past self. Do you consider yourself an exception to the retroactively applied pronouns rule? No, but. So, I guess to explain context for anybody who like isn't sure what we're talking about. So, as a general rule of thumb, when talking to or about any trans person, you should refer to them with their current preferred pronouns, even if, as well as current preferred name, even if you are going to be referring to something that happened to them pre-transition. So like if you grew up with someone who is now transitioned, but like you grew up together as kids and they were the other gender, even if you talk about when you were kids together, best practice is to refer to back then with the name and pronouns they use now. That is best practice as a rule. So the question was, do I consider myself an exception to that rule, since during my my video where I reacted to my own contact, I referred to the person I was seeing as him. So no, I don't think I'm an exception to that rule, but here's the thing. And this is weird and esoteric, and keep in mind, human beings are not machines. We are not a rigid conglomeration of rules that cannot be bent or broken and must be followed at all times and must be 100% consistent. So the reality is that me referring to my past self as him wasn't something that I thought about before I said it. I said it because it's what felt right to say, actually looking at that face. Looking at that face, knowing that at the time I still was using he, him as I think still primary at that point. pronoun, it's just what came out of my mouth, and it felt okay. I think I'd be a lot less comfortable hearing somebody else refer to earlier content, either pre-transition or pre-dropping the masculine pronoun, because keep in mind, I came out in 2008. I didn't drop the masculine pronoun for a couple years after that. And at this point, it's she, they. But the thing is, like, I don't think I'd be comfortable with anyone else doing it. It's just kind of what happened in the moment, because like I feel kind of disconnected from the person that I was at the time anyway. So for me, it just like felt like putting natural distance. But I don't want to say that I'm an exception, because I don't think I'd be okay with somebody else doing it. So just chalk it up to the inconsistency of human beings that I did it to myself and was obviously okay with that. That having been said, reminder, my birth name, Nathaniel. It's not a dead name. You can call me that. Generally, I go by Vera these days. It matches my presentation most of the time, and it just seemed easier and made more sense to put everything under a single creative umbrella. I think the only thing I intend to continue to still put out under Nathaniel is my fantasy series, but Nathaniel is not a dead name. But I would still ask, even if you are calling me Nathaniel, to use she or they pronouns. So I think that covers everything. Supreme Omega, back again. On Temple of Doom, do you feel the film would have been better if Willie was removed? Because she adds nothing. Could have been just Indian short round. It would have helped. There'd still be a lot of problems. Because, oh boy, there's some choices made in the depictions of non-white people in that movie, and even with Willie removed, just as a whole, it's just a mean-spirited movie. I've said in the past, like, you can really tell it was made by a couple of guys going through divorces. It really has that energy. Removing Willie would help, but not enough to save it. Banks wrote an essay about the culture that mentioned the fact that their education system teaches them their privilege. They put a segment in one of his books about why that not work. Then put a segment in one of his why that not work. I mean, that's a healthy thing for him to examine. What's my favorite werewolf movie? I don't know. Probably Dog Soldiers. There aren't that many great werewolf movies, if we're being honest. Let's see. No, Matt. My kid has never called me mom. My kid calls me dad, and always has and always will. Now, for what I'm about to say, this is true of me and me alone. Do not take this as a metric or a guideline to apply to any other trans people of any kind, unless they say something similar to what I'm about to say. But for me, dad is not an especially gendered term. And I don't just mean like the fact that a woman can be daddy, which is true. But, excuse me. For me, dad's the job. Dad is the title. And that's the nature of the relationship that I have with my kid. And it's always going to be the relationship that I have with my kid. I'm not my kid's mom. I'm just not. My kid has a mother who's around and is a great parent. I'm dad. I mean, I just am. And again, my relatively low amount of dysphoria and probably makes that an easier call for me. Most trans parents that I know have preferred that their kids start to refer to them with the parental term that the general understanding of its gender best matches their current identity. That has been my observation of being true for most trans people. It's not true of me in particular. Excuse me. We are going to wrap it up in just a minute here. Andrew Dykins, thank you very much for the super chat. You referring to yourself as he, him seemed very doctor-like. Are you the doctor? If so, where are we going? What companion would you like to be your companion? Well, you can't make that call in advance, can you? You have to feel it out. You have to see who you run into. Who's got the spirit of adventure? I don't know. Let's find out. That's the fun, isn't it? So, do I want to? Yeah, sure. What the hell? So, I had like in my mind. I never had like a plot or a plan or a thing to do. But I just had the general idea that if I were to ever play the Doctor in like a fan work or something, that I wouldn't try and do an English accent. Not because I think I can't do one at all, but because I don't think I can maintain one consistently enough. Not without a lot of practice that I don't have time for. So in my mind, and like I emphasize fan works, I don't think you should cast an American as the Doctor in the main show, but you know, fan works are fan works is fine. But in my mind, the regeneration starts, and it's like, oh, all right, what if we what's the? Oh, wait a minute, cup of tea, bollocks, fish and chips. Oh, it all sounds wrong now, and just being upset at the American accent. So if I were the Doctor, that's how the regeneration would kick off, and be completely unfazed by the to some people confusing nature of my physical being. Some people very much like my physical being. There's another place where you can go for fans who like that sort of thing. Wow, I put too much meat in here. Okay, I think we're about to wrap it up. I speculate one of the reasons people like Temple of Doom, I'm with you, is because people can consider Mola Ram to be one of the cooler villains. I mean, I guess. He kind of comes out of nowhere, though. Like, he just shows up out of nowhere and starts ripping people's hearts out. It's, I don't know. I think we're about to wrap things up for the stream. Have I seen the drama with Pow World? It's popcorn worthy. I haven't. I know it's a thing. It's video game drama. My brain has not shown interest. I travel with the Doctor in a heartbeat. Even better now that the TARDIS is accessible to me. The accessibility is lovely to see. Tuesday. Why am I not pronouncing it Tuesday? Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good, Parker. Thank you for that one. Dharma swooping in at the very end. All hail the council and they who run the meetings. Thank you very, very much. Oh, come on. I've maintained an English accent for 30 odd years. Yeah, but you had a head start. You have home team advantage. Excuse me. Okay. So, what's coming up? Tomorrow I will be on Twitch. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to play more of Turnip Boy Robs a Bank or if I'm going to go back to Baldur's Gate 3. I think I'm going to do some more of Turnip Boy Robs a Bank tomorrow morning on Twitch, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then again on Friday. I might go back to Baldur's Gate 3 by then. Tomorrow it's going to be Turnip Boy, though. And then Saturday, Saturday's video, that one will be interesting. Saturday's video is going to be on why YouTuber apologies always suck. And that is, in fact, available right now to Patreon supporters. It's in early access on the Patreon. So if you want to see that early, you can. I've actually got stuff up early. It's been a little while since I've had it up for more than a day or two early, but it was over a full week on this one. It's been in early access. So that's what's coming up in the immediate. So hope to see at least some of you in the chat for Twitch tomorrow, and hope to see a bunch of you back here Saturday for the new video. So thank you very much. Thank you for joining me. Take care of yourselves. And please remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You are the council. I'm just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. Adjourned? Adjourned. Too much mead. Oh, Mavity works. Woo!